This is One on One. Steve Adubato on location at the Healthcare Foundation in New Jersey. We're pleased to be joined by Dr. Ivan Lamort, who is Assistant Headmaster, St. Benedict's Preparatory School in beautiful Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. Good to see you, Ivan.
It's good to see you too, Steve.
We've known each other a long time. I am honored, we are honored that you're part of our larger discussion, a forum that we're having on breaking the cycle of teen abuse and bullying. Also should disclose my son Stephen is a teacher at St. Benedict's. Prep actually had a conversation with him about this the other day. When we talk about the lessons that we can teach, particularly young men, all boys school, right?
Yes.
What lessons are we teaching and do we need to teach them about dating violence, abuse, and how they treat those they have relationships with? Loaded question, I know.
It is. And I think what we have to remember first is that a lot of the young men that come to us come from an experience of violence. So one of the first things that you
Inner city kids disproportionately?
No. This is across the board. One of the myths of this kind of violence is that it's only happening in inner cities. It isn't. It's happening all over our country. And part of working with young men is teaching them how to have empathy and how to be vulnerable, which is very, very difficult.
That's a learned thing?
You can teach empathy. We're only born with a certain amount of genes that actually help us with empathy, but you can actually teach it. And people can grow in their ability to be empathetic towards each other. But if I've been raised in this very traumatic sort of environment, of course I'm going to act that out. And I think that's one of the things that our parents will always fail to realize. They teach their kids how to act every single day. So a lot of times when kids come from these homes that are broken, or where there's divorce, where there's substance abuse, it's no shock that then they'll begin to struggle with those same issues.
By the way, by way of background, let folks know that you have an academic and practical background in the field of?
Psychology.
So you admit this? I just wanted to clarify that. I'm curious about this. We've talked to people in this series on breaking the cycle of abuse who say we need to have difficult but critically important conversations with young people about issues of dating violence. And one of our guests said, well, we think young people really do want to talk about these things. Do they, or do we have to facilitate and encourage and sometimes push that conversation even when it's very difficult to have?
I think both, Steve. I think what ends up happening is that, especially with teenagers, they don't have a language yet, or they haven't developed their ability to ask those critical questions.
Can't do it online, can you?
No,
as easily.
You can't. I mean, it's just to veer off for a second. The whole issue with cell phones and technology is so disconnecting.
Disconnecting?
Yes.
Ivan, what do you mean?
Our ability to be able to be empathetic starts right here. Me being able to look at you and to feel you and to connect with you on a human level. I can't do that via the phone, via FaceTime. It's not going to happen. So therefore, it makes it easier. A lot of bullies and a lot of people who harass, it's easier to hide. So I can engage in that, and you'll never know who I am, or I won't fear that there's any kind of retribution.
How do we break that down?
You know,
how do we get through that?
I think the first step is a very difficult step. Parents love to give teenagers phones for control.
Control?
Sure.
I would argue for our 14 and 16-year-old boys that it was for safety.
What kind of safety?
I need to reach out. There's a situation. We can reach them. They can reach us.
That's your fear. That's the parents' fear. What we know is this: one of the interesting things about happiness and being safe is that if early on you have mastery, now you're able to kind of accomplish this task. So helping kids master difficult situations prior to getting into them, learning how to talk to people, learning how to connect with people, learning how to work their way out of a difficult situation without using their hands or without using violence. And that's not taught. So cell phones are just a horribly, again, disconnecting tool. We forget, when you and I were growing up, you got that word, don't go down this street. I better never catch you on.
There was a certain section in our neighborhood in Newark that both of us know very well.
So
don't go there.
That's it. What's their street now? It's a cell phone.
That's the street?
That's the street for these kids. If you look at all the if you look at all the statistics across the country, violence is dropping. Media makes it look a lot bigger, but violence is dropping. How many parents don't have their kids' cell phone information? I've spoken to hundreds of parents. Do you know what's on your kid's cell phone? Well, no.
I don't.
And I think that's a huge problem. Again, when we talk about vulnerability,
Right.
with vulnerability, I need to be able to share with you, and you need to know who I am. So a lot of times, especially in my graduate class, I'll ask, who here feels that they're vulnerable? And, of course, I get hands. And so let's do an experiment. I'm going to give you my cell phone, and I'm going to open it up. You get to look through all the pictures. Give me yours. And they stop.
Why?
Because they end up putting things on their phones or on these computers, I still call them a phone, on these very powerful machines, thinking that it's private. And it's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's when you look at the world of cyber safety and bullying, these people can hack into information all the time, and it happens all the time. Unfortunately, even at St. Benedict's, there are times that we have to chase down kids that have sent pictures and that have received inappropriate pictures from classmates, and it's powerful.
In the time we have left, it's interesting. By the way, I made a reference before. I want to clarify. I said you were talking about a dangerous street. I made reference to the neighborhood in Newark. Could be any community. I don't want to disparage my brothers and sisters in my home city, Brick City, Newark. But I want to offer this. When I was talking to my son, Stephen, who, as I said, teaches at St. Benedict's Prep, I asked him about this subject. And he said, Dad, his view is that he thinks it's somewhat different in a school where students are expected to be leaders, that the students at St. Benedict's Prep, they aren't just expected, they are leaders, and they are supposed to manage these situations. To what extent do they have the skill set to do what it is we're talking about with other boys, other men?
You have to teach that skill set, and you have to be willing to allow them to fail. You have to be willing to allow them to engage in this process. They're not going to get it right every time. And that's where, as a parent and as an adult, I can't just jump in there and fix it for them. I have to help them manage it. And that's the fun part.
It's also scary.
It is. It is. As a parent, you don't want to just let your kid out, so you're going to control. But when you look, Steve, when you look at this issue where 30% of kids that start college don't finish, don't go back their 30%. Sophomore year, there's a reason for that.
Ivan's going to be part of a larger conversation that we're having, Dr. Ivan Lamort from St. Benedict's Preparatory School in Newark, on breaking the cycle of abuse and teen bullying as well here at the Healthcare Foundation. Thank you, Ivan.
You're welcome.
Well done.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, Valley Bank, New Jersey Sharing Network, the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., NJM Insurance Group, NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan, and by University Hospital, Newark, New Jersey. Promotional support provided by Jaffe Communications and by Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.